Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's bonus episode of Around the Slice. I usually don't do bonus episodes like this, but to be honest, there's been a lot going on with the Buffalo Bills over the last couple of days, so I just wanted to jump on here quick and cover those two topics and give you all my thoughts on it. So, without further ado, let's just jump into the topics in question. Firstly, this is really disappointing because he was off to a blazing start. As we know, he had 3 sacks in a span of the first 4 games of the season. Star defensive end Von Miller has been suspended 4 games by the NFL for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. Now, I'm going to give my thoughts on this, and this might be controversial. It might not be. I don't know. Now, I'm going to preface this with this. I am not a lawyer, obviously. I am not law enforcement, anything, obviously. But this whole timing of the suspension seems kind of weird for me. Now, the violation of the NFL's personal conduct policy, this stems from Von Miller's domestic violence arrest warrant that was put out for him back in last November 2023, involvement with his girlfriend and child and whatever. But the part I don't get is nothing ever actually happened. What I mean by that is no charges were actually filed against Von Miller. His name was completely cleared. There were no files to begin with. There never was. There never will be by all accounts. So this suspension seems kind of baseless to me. And even like if there was, let's paint a picture like even if there was. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy, but like the NFL couldn't figure this out before the season started. Like you're going to drop the hammer and suspend Von Miller, drop the hammer on Von Miller and the Bills after 4 games have already been played heading into week 5. That timing makes no sense to me, but I go back to this is kind of a baseless suspension because what did he actually violate? There were no charges filed. His girlfriend says, yeah, nothing ever actually happened. His actual girlfriend came out and said nothing actually happened. It was a misunderstanding, whatever. So this makes no sense. And on top of that, you have a guy like Rashee Rice, who all the way back in April went drag racing, like stupid idiot drag racing, and crashed a car, and it was on fire, whatever. Then he fled the scene. There were charges, but he's appearing in court in October. There were actual charges. Actual charges were filed against Rashee Rice for this. But the NFL did nothing. The NFL turned their eye on it, or whatever the expression is, turned their heads on it, and they didn't care. And then you have Deshaun Watson, who a 25th woman, so a 25th lawsuit for, you know what it's for. I don't need to explain that. A 25th lawsuit was filed against them a couple of weeks ago. And in my opinion, Deshaun Watson shouldn't ever be allowed to play in the NFL now, in the past, or ever again. I know that might seem harsh, but he should have a lifetime ban from the NFL. And he wasn't even placed on the commissioner, Roger Goodell, didn't even place him on the commissioner's exempt list to rule him ineligible to play a couple of weeks ago. It just makes no sense. So Rashee Rice, charges against him, nothing happens. Deshaun Watson, charges against him, now 25 lawsuits from 25 different women for, you know what it's for. I'm not explaining it, going into detail. I've done it enough. And no suspension at all, not even commissioner's exempt list. And then Von Miller, oh yeah, by the way, after week 4, you're suspended for 4 games. It makes no sense. Again, I go back to it. To me personally, you might not agree, you might agree, whatever. I really don't care. It's a baseless suspension, in my opinion. Nothing ever arose from the matter. There's multiple players that did something wrong and they never get suspended for it, not even close. Von Miller never appeared in court for it. No charges were actually filed. His own girlfriend, who was the one that filed the complaint to begin with, or had caused the warrant to be put out, whatever it's termed, she came out and said it was a whole misunderstanding with her and the child and whatever. So I don't understand it personally, but I guess it's not for me to understand. Like, it is what it is. So again, no lawyer, not a lawyer, obviously, not a law enforcement official or anything, obviously, but that's just my 2 cents in this situation personally. And then Von Miller, it is technically an exempt spot for the next 4 weeks. The Bills have, I don't know if they've officially done it yet, but they will subsequently place Von Miller on the reserve/suspended list. So that opens up a roster spot. And it seemed like the Bills knew this was coming because yesterday morning, just literally hours before the Vaughn suspension was officially announced, and Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, all those big NFL, Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, and ESPN insiders, all those talking heads were talking about it. The Bills signed defensive tackle Zion Logue off of the Atlanta Falcons practice squad. The lowdown on Logue, if you will, is he was a 2023 sixth-round pick out of Georgia by the Falcons. So this year, sixth-round pick out of Georgia, and he was caught from the actual roster on cutdown day, like the rest of the league, and then brought back to the practice squad like literally a day or two later. I think a day later. But Zion Logue, he never really saw a substantial amount of playing time at Georgia because he was always behind studs in Nazir Stackhouse, who's still there, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, a couple other high-profile names that I can't remember off the top of my head. So he was never really a preferred starter. He rarely ever started a game if there was injury or whatnot. But when he was in there, like, he was effective. He's not going to give you rushing the passer. He's not going to give you much athleticism. He's there like he's a true nose tackle. So he's known as a big, huge, literally and figuratively, run stuffer up the middle. And we need that because our run defense, I said, is absolutely atrocious. And it reared its ugly head, if you will. It reared its ugly head against Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens in that Sunday Night Football trouncing, unfortunately. So I really like this high upside move. I shouldn't say high upside, but as a nose tackle, I'm down with it. Now, I do wonder why they're so high. So obviously they're so high in Elianku, he's been a staple in the practice squad for the last handful of years, last 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4 years. I can't remember, but at least last 2 or 3 years. I'm wondering why they didn't just sign him to the permanent active 53-man roster. Instead, they kept him in the practice squad. To me, though, making a defensive tackle move at all signals that they are not nearly satisfied enough with their depth defensive tackles in the form of Dwayne Carter and Austin Johnson. I don't want to say I was really high, but I was relatively high on this defensive tackle depth duo of Carter and Johnson, respectively, as compared to last year at least, because I thought Dwayne Carter and Austin Johnson as defensive tackle depth behind Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones were so much, like, miles better than the likes of Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, and Poona Ford, who I've said before I like, but the Bills didn't give him nearly enough playing time for whatever reason and what have you. So I liked it, but I will admit it has disappointed mightily. And I don't think Dwayne Carter's getting enough snaps. He's only getting in there in garbage time. When he does get in there in garbage time, he recorded a tackle for loss in that blowout win over the Ravens when Justice Hill was in there, and it was just garbage time again. But I want to see him get more snaps. But I like this. Improving the run game, and if the guy's known as an elite run stuffer at Georgia coming out of high college pedigree in the SEC, then yeah, I guess that's fine. Next, before we get into some unfortunate injury news and a long list of injuries from one Bills drive today at practice, we do have to talk about the Davante Adams trade rumors. This really escalated a couple of days ago when Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce, liked a post on Instagram saying, I can't remember the exact words, but it was basically saying Davante Adams has played his last game as a Raider, the silver and black, all that, crap. And next day, it was reported, Ian Rappaport of NFL Network broke the news that Davante Adams has told the Las Vegas Raiders, Raiders execs and the organization as a whole that he had preferred to be traded. Now, the big destinations now are apparently he wants to go to a team that has a QB that he's familiar with and actually friends with to that extent. So think of the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, all their success in Green Bay for a number of years. Think of Derek Carr think of the Saints because of Derek Carr, all their success at Fresno State for that 2 or 3 year stretch, maybe even 4 years. I don't know. I wasn't near watching college football in like 2012 when it was. But the Jets, the Saints, I could see the Cowboys were in it for a little bit, but now apparently they're out. The Steelers should trade for one, but for whatever reason, their GM, Omar Khan, doesn't value the receiver position outside George Pickens very highly. So I don't really get it, but a sneaky spot is the Buffalo Bills. I understand that Davante Adams will be 32 in just merely 2 months, Let me start over. He'll be 32 years old 2 months from now in December. I understand that. But if you're giving me which receiver would I rather have north of 30, 31-year-old Stephon Diggs going on 32-year-old Davante Adams. Adams easily. It's not some landslide, but I would easily take Adams. Stephon Diggs can't separate anymore. He's only a route runner out of the slot at this point. Davante Adams can still go with some deep post balls. He can still separate downfield. He can still do all the stuff you want him. He's not some burner anymore. But I think they want a second-round pick. And luckily, I think this was Brandon Beane's plan the whole time. They got a second-round pick in this year's draft, for 2025 second-round pick specifically, I should say, in this year's draft for giving up Stephon Diggs. So that's really, really good. At the time, I didn't only understand really getting only that. But now I perfectly get it. We have our own second-round pick and the second-round pick from the Vikings, which it's not as high as once thought because apparently Sam Darnold's like the next coming of Christ over there in Minnesota. But yeah, so I don't know. If you let's say you give the Raiders a second-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and then plus Mac Hollins or something to throw in the back and to get the deal done, I would do that. So Bills get Davante Adams, Raiders get a second-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and Mac Hollins. Because in my opinion, the Bills wide receivers are not good enough. I mean, I was in denial all offseason since we traded Diggs. We'll be fine. Everyone eats. That's really true for Dalton King, Khalil Shakir. For an actual wide receiver standpoint, Khalil Shakir, love the kid. Love the guy, I should say, rather. But other than that, like what are we really getting? Like Keon Coleman, his snaps are up and down every game as it is, and he just has 11 targets in the year total through 4 games. So I don't think he's getting nearly enough targets as he should be. And then Curtis Samuel, he's just been a total dud. Whether it's Joe Brady doesn't know how to use him, the turf toe injury is much more serious than we thought. I don't know. If you need to sit him out for a game or two, maybe sit him out. Maybe you do breathe some life and elevate Tyrell Shavers or KJ Hamler from the practice squad. And have Curtis Samuel be a healthy and active for a game or two to get him right or just in the right headspace. I don't know. And then your depth receivers in Mac Hollins and MVS, you're not getting nearly enough from that. Like, I don't know. So we need some life in this offense. We had that second round pick. We were rumored to be in on T. Higgins. Didn't happen. Looks like he's staying in Cincinnati this year. Then we'll address it. He'll address it in free agency. Brandon Ayuk, didn't happen. He signed a huge new deal with the 49ers. Now, Davante Adams, this is your time to pounce. And if you do, you're basically swapping out Stephon Diggs for that second round pick from the Vikings. And you can, the Texans had the Vikings second round pick. And then you can use that second round pick to acquire Davante Adams. So this is my official trade proposal. Buffalo Bills get Davante Adams. Las Vegas Raiders get a second round pick, a fifth round pick, and Mac Hollins. I am so sick of Brandon Beane clinging on to draft picks, like clinging on the draft picks like he needs draft picks, like he needs water, like he needs oxygen every day. Like, no, you don't. Like, not the oxygen part, but you don't need draft picks like you need like you need to breathe. I mean, you're like, they're not wasting Josh Allen, but I don't think they're capitalizing on the weapons. The only weapons I like are Dalton Kincaid. James Cook's a running back, but Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, if I include him as a pass catcher, which he's elite at that, include Shakir. Curtis Samuel, total dud. Keon Coleman, not getting nearly enough targets as he should be and would have been, actually. And then your depth receiver in the MVS and Mac Hollins, like, you're not getting nearly enough from them as you should. So that's just my official trade proposal and my thoughts on that. And I know people are going to say, well, is it expensive? Davante Adams, blah, blah, blah. Yes. He's under contract for this year plus 2 years after this. So he's under contract for 2024, which is this year, and then 2025 and 2026, respectively, and then contract's up. But theoretically, for all intents and purposes, it is only a 2-year deal. Or, sorry, 1-year deal. Because after this year, you can do some restructures. You can move around some guarantees. You can move up some guaranteed money, move back some guaranteed money. I haven't looked at the specifics, but it's affordable. I know the Bills only have around $4 million cap space right now, but if the Raiders agree to pay a big chunk of that salary, which even half of that salary, which teams likely do nowadays more than we're used to seeing, they do way more often now where they are willing to pay a big chunk or at least half of the salary of the player just to get them off the books and whatnot, then the Bills could easily make that happen and then move around some guarantees and stuff after this year, like I said. So that's my thoughts on the Davante Adams thing. I would do it if I were Brandon Beane. If he goes to the Jets, I'm going to be very, very mad, which is a harsh reality, I think. But, like, come on. Like, It's a scary duo with Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams. It's just a matter of Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers capitalizing on all that talent. But on paper, it will be scary. So, and unfortunately, to end our little roundup bonus video here on today's episode of Around the Slice, injury news. So Deion Dawkins, superstar offensive tackle, left tackle, whatever you want to call him, Deion Dawkins did not practice today due to hamstring injury. This really sucks because these hamstring injuries can linger 2, 3, 4, even 5 weeks in the worst case. So, like, if he goes in IR, like, that's horrible. I don't think it's that serious, but we don't know. These hamstring injuries can linger. I highly doubt. I'll be pretty much shocked. Like, I'm 99.9% sure that he won't play against the Texans on Sunday. And that's really kind of concerning. Not kind of, it's very alarming and concerning because Ryan Vandermark would have to step up and start at left tackle. And then you have no depth behind him. Will Clapp is only a center and guard. Cedric Van Pran Granger is only a center and guard, mainly a center. Alec Anderson can only pit tackle in the paint. He's a jumbo tight end. He's a backup center, backup guard, swing, interior guy. And then the 5 starters. Really wish we had Tylen Grable right now, but we don't. So we would have to sign someone off the street. I don't know if we have any legit options in the practice squad. I'll have to look back at that. But if he doesn't play, if he's out for an extended period of time, any longer than 1 or 2 weeks here, we're going to be in a lot of trouble with Ryan Vandermark having to start at left tackle. And then a few more. Khalil Shakir did not practice today due to an ankle injury. Now, the fact that he did finish the game against the Ravens, even though a blowout, he was trying his hardest against the Ravens, it's an encouraging sign that he will play Sunday against the Texans. Again, Wednesday is just like a maintenance day for a lot of players. You've seen this with like Deontay Johnson of the Panthers, a couple other players. And by the way, running back Joe Mixon didn't appear at practice day. If he doesn't practice at all tomorrow and is even limited or not practicing on Friday, he's definitely not playing against the Bills. But I'm not scared of a combination of Cam Akers and Dare Ogunbowale. So, I mean, glorified special teamer there for both of them. I want to be a Cam Akers fan, but he hasn't done anything in the NFL. But back to Khalil Shakir, Shakir probably will play, but I won't be shocked if he doesn't play. And then without him, the receiver group of Hollins, MVS, Samuel, and Keon Coleman, I just don't think we're going to win with that group. And then defensive tackle Austin Johnson has an oblique injury, did not practice today. I don't think there's any shot where he plays Sunday, especially with signing Zion Logue. I mean, we saw this coming by that signing. They kind of go hand to hand. You sign Zion Logue, and Austin Johnson probably 99.9% sure doesn't play Sunday at the Texans in Houston. I mean, it is what it is, but like he hasn't been really effective anyway. He only played 7 snaps total last week against the Ravens. Last week, a couple of days ago against the Ravens. So, I mean, I guess it is what it is, but I mean, they're just not getting enough from these depth defensive tackles, whether they're healthy or not. And we saw an oblique injury, a fellow defensive lineman, edge rusher, but same concept, Javon Solomon. He was out for week 1 against the Cardinals, week 2 against the Dolphins. So, and then going back to Von Miller, probably should have mentioned this. The 5 defensive ends on our roster now are Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Javon Solomon, Casey Tuhill, and Dwan Smoot. I love Greg Rousseau. I really like AJ Epinesa. I just don't know if he's a full-time starter. So I loved how he was splitting with Von Miller. And then Dwan Smoot, like he got way too many snaps as it is just for him to knee a player in the head Sunday night. Idiot move. I still can't get over that. And then Javon Solomon's a rookie, so how will he handle a large amount of snaps? And Casey Tuhill has been a career special teamer, so I don't really like that he'll have to get a lot of snaps. And then maybe you flip-flop with rotating in Cameron Klein and Kingsley Johnson with practice squad elevations, Johnson this week and Klein next week respectively, or just flip them, like take turns, because they each have 3 more practice squad elevations. So that should cover the loss, not like the player, but like the duration of Von's suspension. So I'm very nervous about this edge group now. I like Ferguson and AJ Epinesa, and that's it. Like Tuhill, career special teamer. Solomon, okay, he's a rookie, 5th-round pick from Troy. Very small school as it is. Excuse me. And then Dwan Smoot, like idiotic decisions on the field. Taylor Rapp is still in concussion protocol. No way he's playing. Offensive players tend to clear this concussion protocol usually within a week, if not sooner. so they can play. But Taylor Rapp's a hard-hitting safety. Every time he plays, he either gets himself injured or his teammate injured. He's kind of a reckless player, but I don't want to bash him too much because he is in concussion protocol right now. I just don't think he'll play. I could see any combination of starting safeties. I could see it being DeMar Hamlin and Mike Edwards, DeMar Hamlin and Cole Bishop, Mike Edwards and Cole Bishop, Kareem Jackson and DeMar Hamlin from the practice squad. Any combination of DeMar Hamlin, Cole Bishop, Mike Edwards, Kareem Jackson, once they elevate from the practice squad, I could absolutely see. Everyone's getting clamoring for Mike Hyde. I've shut the door. He's out of my mind. I mean, he's every time. Sean McDermott was just asked about him yesterday. Yeah, we're still in communication with Hyde. We love Micah, blah, blah. We'll just decide already, dude. And the thing of the matter is everyone loves him for coming back. But I think he's like very washed and dusted at this point, like even more than Jordan Poyer. And that says something because Jordan Poyer's off to like a horrible start through 4 games with Miami this year. Fact of the matter is no one wants to like believe it, but the reality is Micah Hyde just isn't really anything good of a football player anymore. That's my thoughts on it. If you want to come back, great. If not, then just say that and we'll move on. 2 superstars, though, coming back to the practice field. Terrell Bernard was in a full contact jersey, so he was in a limited capacity. And then superstar nickel / slot corner, Taron Johnson, was in a red non-contact jersey limited. I think Terrell Bernard will be ready to go. It's going to be close, but I think he'll play against the Texans. But I don't think Taron Johnson will. And then it begs the question, why didn't you just put him on IR? He would have mixed week 2, 3, 4, and 5. He's already missing weeks 2 through 5. Because they said he could return within 4 games. So I don't know why they didn't put him on IR. That was kind of waste. Like you could have signed Daquan Hardy from the practice squad, or someone else from the practice squad, or just someone else off the street. I don't know, but it was a waste to not put him on IR. So I think Bernard will be back, but Taron Johnson unfortunately won't. Anyways, guys. Again, I don't really do these bonus episodes much, but I just wanted to jump on here today and share. There's been a lot of comings and goings with the Bills lately over the last couple of days, so I just wanted to share that with you all. If you agree, great. If you disagree, that's great too, because disagreement is also good. I have some nice discourse and nice friendly back and forth. Anyways, guys, you can follow me personally on Twitter at @AWeingartner13. You can follow the show on Twitter at @AroundSlice. You can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can support me on Patreon for bonus content not found anywhere else, just to you guys as patrons for just $3 a month at patreon.com/aroundtheslice. And lastly, I recently, over the last 2 days or so, started a Substack. If you don't know what Substack is, it's a way for creators such as myself to provide written content to their audience members and consumers such as you guys. It's totally free to join. So if you want articles about post-game thoughts from the Bills or Bills game previews or just other cool stuff and other interests that I have, then go on there. It's completely free. So yeah. And lastly, I promise, lastly, I'm on my quest to 50 subscribers. Let's get to the big 5-0 within the next couple of weeks. I appreciate it, guys. Again, this has been a really fun bonus episode, just giving you my free-flowing thoughts, no real notes, just giving my off-the-dome, if you will, thoughts on these different topics. Anyways, thank you for supporting. I will see you guys in a couple of days on Friday, October 4th, for my official Big Bills-Texans preview, so please look forward to that, as I am very much, and I will see you then. Bye.